Hello everyone, this is Riya Gandhi and today I'm going to talk about Samuel Richardson's Pamela, which is believed to be the first true English novel published on 10th January 1740. Samuel Richardson was a great English writer who wrote 500 works including journals and magazines. Little is known of his early years, but it has been believed that Pamela is his most influential work. So much so that it has divided the critics into Pamelists and anti-Pamelists. So before I begin summarizing this story, I would like to give an interesting fact about it. It has been believed that Richardson has based his story on a real-life affair between Hannah Sturgis, a 16-year-old daughter of a coachman, and Sir Arthur Heselrigge, who was a baronet of Northampton and who got married in 1725. So before any further ado, here is a short, fun animated video summarizing the story of a 15-year-old maid, Pamela Andrews, in Bedfordshire, who was maliciously seduced by her master several times, who also forced himself on her before they eventually got married happily. So I hope you enjoy it. Belonging from the Augustan age, the novel follows the outline of Pamela, who is working as a maid in Mr. B's house, who is naturally a wealthy landowner. With the demise of his mother, he took special attention to Pamela, often leading to ruining her chastity. His actions forced Pamela to write letters to her parents, mentioning her intolerance towards anyone who corrupts her chastity. And as expected, Mr. B intercepts all the letters that Pamela writes to her parents. Mr. B also bribes her to keep her mouth shut. Nevertheless, she tells her friendly housemaid, Mrs. Jervis. This enrages him to such an extent that he locks Pamela in the closet and tries to have his way on her. Interestingly, Pamela's action of writing letters gave the novel its most important genre, that is, the epistolary format wherein a novel is written as a series of documents. With that said, Pamela tries plethora of ways of escaping but sadly fails of unknown impediments. Finally, when she resolves to leave, she is unknowingly drove to Lincolnshire, which is far away from her parents. There, in Lincolnshire, she meets with Mrs. Jerkis, who cruelly abuses her. She also forces Pamela to be her bedfellow. She also meets with Mr. Williams, her only ally. Or so she thinks. Mr. Williams is a nice country clergyman who shares letters with Pamela near the sunflowers. Now, jealous of Mr. Williams, Mr. B sends thieves to attack him. He even instigates his arrest under the claim of being caught under debt. And when Mr. Williams, finally out of pity, asks Pamela to marry him, she denies. Upon returning to Lincolnshire, Mr. B proposes Pamela to be her mistress, but his offer is ardently declined by Pamela. Clearly not satisfied with his newfound rejection, he disguises as another housemaid and tries to sleep with Pamela. However, when she has a fit and is almost dying, Mr. B undergoes an emotional transformation, so much so that he sincerely confesses love to her. Now, Pamela's emotions are also stirred at this moment, but she brushes them off. The second volume of this novel begins when Mr. B is away from Lincolnshire and Pamela receives a note from a gypsy fortune teller warning her of a sham marriage. When Mr. B returns, he forcefully reads Pamela's letters and is deeply moved by her virtues and goodness for the people who did evil to her. Thus, as the book is revolved around the virtues of Pamela, it is also known by Virtue Rewarded. Taking this as an opportunity, Pamela pleads to go to her parents' house, and Mr. B reluctantly lets her go. On her journey to her parents' house, Mr. B writes a letter to Pamela wishing her good luck for her life. Deeply touched by Mr. B's concern, she resolves to go back to Lincolnshire the moment she receives another letter from Mr. B mentioning his illness. Upon meeting, she reconciles with him and they decide to have a future as husband and wife. Finally, they get happily married in a chapel, and everyone from her parents to the village nobility who denied to even help her are in fact now impressed. But when everyone was happy and merry, something else was brewing in Richardson's mind. He introduced Mr. B's sister, Mrs. Davis, who, by the way, is clearly disheartened by her brother's wife. She even insults her after entering their room without permission. That said, she also does not forget to mention a little dark history of Mr. B himself. She mentions Sally Godfrey, a lady whom he seduced in his youth and who now is a mother of his child. But being a nice, amiable, submissive girl she is, Pamela happily accepts the child and raises her as her own. In the end, she goes on to become a lady of upper class in society from a banal, insulting lower strata.